Welcome to the deep dive. So, you've brought us some really interesting material today.
Yeah, a mix of things.
Articles, research, some of your own notes too, it looks like. All circling around data visualization in market research.
That's the focus.
And our mission, well, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Let's pull out the most valuable insights. Figure out how market researchers can really use data viz effectively to communicate complex stuff.
Exactly. Think of it as a quick way to get up to speed.
Sort of a fast track.
Right.
Yeah.
What we're really digging into is how you take all that potentially overwhelming data.
Like survey results, purchase history,
Better.
web traffic.
All of that, and reshape it into visual formats that, well, anyone you're presenting to can understand quickly, intuitively even.
And it's clear right off the bat why this is so crucial. I mean, visualizations, you're familiar, pie charts, bar graphs.
Basics, yeah.
They take these huge data sets and almost in a flash make them understandable. The material you shared had a great example.
Oh, the bar chart.
Yeah, the one showing age group preferences for a product. Suddenly, that key demographic just jumps out at you.
It's that cognitive fluency, right? Good visuals tap into how we process visually. You see patterns immediately.
Much faster than reading text, for sure. It's like turning 100 numbers in a table into maybe 3 bars you can compare instantly.
And the efficiency gain that brings to your work is just fascinating.
Huge, I bet.
Definitely. Instead of stakeholders, slogging through pages of raw data or dense reports.
Which nobody really wants to do.
Exactly. Clear visuals deliver the core findings almost instantly. It just accelerates the whole process.
So people making decisions can grasp the significance faster.
And adjust strategies quicker based on solid data.
Okay, let's unpack the how-to then. The material really seems to stress a key best practice first. Understanding your audience and your goals.
Oh, this is absolutely fundamental. You wouldn't present the same way to executives as you would to, say, a team of technical experts, would you?
No, probably not.
And the sources we looked at really highlight this. Executives. They often prefer those high-level summaries.
Right, the big picture view, simple pie charts, maybe a clear bar graph showing the main trends.
Precisely. Whereas a more technical audience, they might actually appreciate and frankly benefit from more complex, maybe even interactive visualizations.
So they can dig in themselves.
Yeah, allowing for deeper analysis. And the purpose of the viz itself is critical too.
Yeah.
What are you trying to show?
Are you comparing sales figures? Tracking changes over time?
Or exploring correlations? The type of chart or graph you pick needs to align directly with that specific goal to give the clearest insight.
Makes total sense. So know your audience, know your goal. Building on that, the next big thing seems to be about design, keeping it clean, simple, focused.
Absolutely. Think of it like decluttering the visual space for your audience.
Okay.
Any unnecessary elements, extra grid lines, fancy 3D effects, they can just become distractions. They can actually obscure the insights you're trying so hard to highlight.
Yeah, we've all seen those charts, haven't we? Where you just don't know where to look first. It's overwhelming.
Exactly. So prioritizing clarity is just crucial. You need to highlight the most important data points and really minimize anything that isn't essential.
And color plays a role here too, I gather.
A strategic role, definitely. A consistent, maybe restrained palette makes it easier on the eyes, simpler to interpret. But contrasting colors should be used intentionally, right? To really differentiate specific categories or variables you want to stand out.
And it's not just the chart itself, but the bits around it. Labels and things.
Precisely. Your labels, any annotations you add, clear legends, they're your friends here. They provide essential context.
So people know exactly what they're looking at.
And what it means. Without them, even a beautifully designed chart can be misinterpreted easily.
Okay, so audience, clean design, check. Now, what about when the data itself is just a lot? How do market researchers simplify that kind of complex information effectively?
Well, this is where the art of focusing comes in. It's really about identifying the core insights that absolutely must be communicated.
The need to know stuff.
Exactly. And then consciously filtering out the data that, while maybe interesting to you, isn't crucial for that audience, for that core message. You don't want to drown them.
The source had that example about consumer preferences, right? Not showing everything across all categories.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe just focusing on the top trends or the most significant insights that are actually going to inform the decisions they need to make.
So simplifying isn't about losing context.
Not at all. It's not about dumbing down. It's more like intelligent curation. emphasizing what's most relevant to your audience's needs and your presentation's objectives, making the key takeaways crystal clear.
And sometimes, I suppose, the simplest type of visualization is actually the most effective way to land a key point.
Oh, absolutely. You might be tempted by a fancy, complex chart, but honestly, sometimes a straightforward bar chart or a simple pie chart is all you need.
Like for showing the percentage preferring one product.
Perfect example. The goal isn't always to showcase every single data point you have. It's to clearly highlight the trends or the correlations or maybe the outliers that are most important for your audience to understand.
Okay, so our visuals are clear, focused, tailored. Now, the material brings up something really interesting. The power of storytelling. How does that fit in here?
This is where the data really comes alive, I think. Storytelling in this context is about crafting a narrative.
Okay.
So instead of just throwing up a sequence of unrelated charts, you structure them logically. You guide your audience through a flow of insights.
Starting with the main point.
Yeah, maybe start with the key findings and then use the subsequent visuals as evidence to support that narrative you're building.
So it's about making the data more relatable, making people connect with it.
Precisely. The source, use that customer satisfaction survey example.
Hmm.
You might start with the overall score, but then you use visuals to drill down, showing how different customer segments feel about specific product aspects. It helps the audience connect on a more human level, makes the insights stickier, more memorable.
So it's not just presenting the facts, but explaining the why behind them for the audience.
Exactly that. A good data story provides context. It explains why this data matters, how it aligns with the bigger business picture, the goals.
Turning raw data into something actionable.
That's the goal. Actionable insights. And certain visualizations, like maybe a line graph showing market trends over time, become really powerful prediction tools when they're framed within a compelling narrative.
Now, while we're telling these great data stories, there's a really critical piece we have to talk about. Data accuracy and transparency.
Non-negotiable, right?
Absolutely foundational. If your audience doesn't trust the data you're showing them, well, nothing else really matters, does it?
No, the whole thing falls apart.
So market researchers have to be meticulous. Verify the data before visualizing it. Ensure it's consistent, error-free. Checking for discrepancies. Outliers.
All of it. Anything that could skew the analysis you're presenting, you have to catch it.
And it's not just the raw data being right, but how you show it visually, making sure that reflects reality accurately.
Exactly. You need to ensure your visuals accurately reflect the underlying numbers. Things like incorrect scales on axes or misleading labels, distorted proportions.
They can lead to big misinterpretations.
Serious ones.
Yeah.
And it just completely undermines your credibility. Double-checking everything before you present is just essential.
And the source also mentioned being upfront about where the data came from and how it was analyzed.
Transparency. It's key for building that trust with stakeholders.
Makes sense.
You need to provide clear info on your data sources, the methods you use for collection, processing, analysis. People need that context, especially if they're using these insights for critical business decisions.
It gives them confidence in the findings.
Right. And being open to feedback, maybe revisions, that's part of this commitment to accuracy too.
Okay, so the data is solid, it's presented accurately and transparently. Now, what about the tools? What are the key tools market researchers are using to actually create these visualizations?
Well, there's quite a spectrum out there, really, catering to different needs, different levels of complexity you might run into.
Okay.
For basic charting, a lot of researchers still rely on the familiar ones, Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets.
The workhorses, you might say.
Pretty much. They offer a good range of simple, easy-to-create chart types that most people are already comfortable with.
But what about for more complex stuff, interactive dashboards?
Yeah, for that, you often see people turning to more specialized platforms. Tools like Tableau, Power BI, Google Data Studio.
Right.
These offer much more flexibility for creating really customized, often interactive visuals. They let users explore the data themselves in more detail.
And the source mentioned Tableau specifically.
It did, yeah. Highlighted its strength in handling complex visualizations, and particularly large data sets. Things like relational data, interactive dashboards with drill downs. Tableau's pretty powerful there.
And it's not just numbers we're visualizing, is it? What about qualitative data, like from open-ended survey questions?
That's a great point. For text-based data like that, or maybe social media comments, tools like word clouds can be surprisingly useful.
How do they work?
They visually highlight the most frequently used words or phrases, so you get a quick visual sense of the key themes and sentiments popping out of that text data.
Ah.
Ultimately, choosing the right tool really boils down to matching its capabilities to your specific data. And of course, the research objectives you're trying to hit with your presentation.
So you've got your well-designed, accurate viz using the right tool, but how do you make absolutely sure your audience interprets it correctly, especially if the underlying data is still pretty complex?
Yeah, that's crucial. And this is where those extra touches can make a huge difference. Things like adding clear annotations directly onto the visualization itself.
Like little call-out boxes.
Exactly. Or using tooltips, those little info boxes that pop up when you hover over a data point. Providing those kinds of contextual explanations can really guide your audience, help them grasp the significance of what they're seeing.
The source had that scatter plot example, didn't it? Annotating key points in the relationship between ad spend and sales growth.
That's the one. It really helps direct their attention to the most critical insights you want them to take away.
Makes sense.
And another powerful strategy is actually combining different types of visualizations.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, you might pair, say, a line graph showing trends over time with maybe a heat map that highlights regional variations for the same period.
Ah, giving multiple perspectives.
Exactly. It offers different angles on the same data, which can really enrich understanding. And of course, never underestimate the basics. Clear, concise labeling of your axes, titles, legends. That's fundamental to avoiding confusion.
Okay. And now for our fast fact moment, which really hammers home why all this data viz stuff matters so much.
Absolutely. Get this. According to a report by the Nielsen-Norman Group, people can process visual information a staggering 60,000 times faster than text.
Wow, 60,000 times.
60,000. That just,
Ah.
it highlights the immense power, right, of effective data visualization in market research today. It enables much faster, more informed decision-making.
Incredible. So just to wrap things up then, we've really covered some critical ground today for anyone doing market research presentations.
Definitely.
We talked about it really understanding your audience and your goals first.
Key starting point.
Then keeping visuals clear, simple, focused, using storytelling to actually connect people with the data.
Making it memorable.
Absolutely. And that non-negotiable part,
Mm.
ensuring data accuracy and transparency, plus leveraging the right tools for the job.
And by focusing on these core principles, you really can transform those potentially dense market research insights
Yeah.
into powerful, easily digestible visual stories.
Yeah.
Stories that resonate with your audience and actually drive action based on what you found.
Okay, so on that note, here's a final thought for everyone listening to maybe chew on. Given that incredible statistic processing visuals 60,000 times faster, how much potential impact do you think market research might be losing every single day? Just because of poorly designed or maybe overly complex data presentations that just take too long for people to understand? Something to think about. Maybe consider what immediate changes you could make based on our chat today to really enhance how you communicate and ultimately boost your influence. Thanks for diving deep with us.